Thank you. Please stand by. You will now be placed into conference.
And case management. All these are web-based. They're configurable, flexible, friendly, and as we implied before, they are free. It's always easier to add to something than to create it from scratch. What my hope is that you, everybody on this call here, will be able to get a vision of framework as we go through these 3 applications, which again, you'll see that they're deployed and accessible across the entire nation. Next slide. And the first one is the resource directory. And I'll give you the next slide. In the design of our resource directory, every community and every state can manage their own directory. There's autonomy there. But a national directory is the aggregate of the state and community directories. So it's accessible to everyone anywhere, 24/7. Let's go to the next slide. And by the way, our website is rjcusa.org. RJC, standing for Restorative Justice Community, USA.org. If you click on the Need Help button on that website, you can see how it works. You can also add your organization and see how that works. Our resource directory has 3 configurations. The manager of the directory can configure it for public, where everyone can view and search. You can have a private directory where only the organizations that are in the directory can view and search, or internal, where only the administrators can view and search. And actually, you can have any 2 or all 3 of these going on at the same time. Many organizations do not want to be on a public site, but they don't mind being on a private site. They sometimes, you may call these organizations such that they do not take direct referrals. They always get referrals through other organizations. Why don't you give me the next slide? And again, as I go through here, my intent is not to teach the software or show all the features, but to give you an idea of the functionality so you can get a vision of framework. Now, the organizations in the directory include government, community, faith-based. They include everybody. They can even include mentors, counselors. Each organization lists the resource and services they provide. They have a user ID and password so they can update their information 24/7. The people that use the directory can search, sort, or filter to find whatever they want. They can learn more about the organization. They can print a map. Let's go to the next slide. And again, I am working through this somewhat quickly just to give you an overview of it. Now, when an organization is added to the directory, this is a very, very simple view of what they enter. Information about themselves, types of services they have, and right here you only see, 10 services, and actually we have probably over 50 services in our taxonomy. Okay, why don't you give me the next slide. The services, you select the services that you offer from a friendly taxonomy. You can search for providers of multiple services. If you're looking to refer somebody to somebody that does 8 things, it has 8 services. You can list all of those, and then you will see a listing of the ones that have 8, then the ones that have 7, and the ones that have 6, the ones that have 5, etc. Organizations in the directory can add, remove, or put services on hold for any period of time. That often helps in a situation for housing. How about the next slide? You can search the directory. Again, search by services, it's at the bottom, by state, by county, by zip code, resources that begin with. Anything you have a very, very rich ability to search here. Next slide. All resource directories have an administrator, and that administrator has a management interface. They approve the process for organizations to be included. They can automate email reminders to update the information. They automatically issue usernames and passwords. They manage duplicates, and there's some other features. You can see a very simple example. And over to the right, you'll see that passwords have been issued. You can see where it says directory, which one they've chosen to be in. And I don't want to confuse this, but if you have chosen to be in the public, then by default you are in a private. But if you've chosen private, you will not be listed in the public. Status, 2 have been approved, and 1 is pending approval. We do not control who is approved or not. And let me present that in a different way. RJC, Restorative Justice Community, is only technology. We are only software. We don't tell people how to do reentry. We don't create policies. We are just trying to build a framework, and actually we're trying to build the first step of a framework, which is technology. Okay. Resource directories. They're great to identify resources and services, connect organizations that didn't even know each other, that were just around the corner. They build capacity. They bring communities together. They identify like-minded organizations, like-minded individuals, and it starts, if you will, a platform where you can actually get together, meet, discuss issues like they are doing in many places around the country. We have learned that some resource directories can fail. Information must be reliable, which means accurate and current. And that's more easily said than done. It is very hard to do quality control on who can be in a directory when it's 200 miles away. The best way to keep it accurate and current is for it to be used. The more it is used, the more reliable the information will be, the more everybody will know each other, the more valuable it is, the more it will be used. I can't overstate that enough. And that's where we got after this first phase when we introduced the directory 6-7 years ago. The next issue is, how do we make it more valuable? How do we get more people to use it? And that brings us to the next slide, which is, one time he's ahead of me, okay? Which brings us to the referral system. And as Drew mentioned earlier, we were going to try and break for questions. So, Drew?
Yeah, why don't we do that? If you have I'm looking at the questions so far, and the questions haven't been content related, but if you have a question of David now, you can unmute your phone and speak it if you'd like. If there's 1 or 2 questions, we'll take it at this time about the resource directory aspect of it. Does anyone have a question at this time of David? Some clarification question?
I have a question. Carol Gates from Cleveland. And I'm reading along with you, and I think I'm understanding what you're saying, but just for a point of clarification for me personally, are you saying that the framework that you started to put together for reentry begins with a resource directory, and that's all you're going to talk about today?
No, I'm going to talk about a referral system and the caseworker system, the three applications that we had on the earlier slide.
Okay. But you're going to begin with a resource directory, a national directory.
Yes, it's a national directory, but as I said, it's only national because it aggregates up local and state directories, which means that if you were organizing a directory in your state, then those resources will be aggregated up if you allowed it. So other organizations across the state and the country could have access to them.
I see. So it's an expanded version of the 211 system? But
no, not at all.
Re-entry?
No. 211 began as an online help desk for referrals. And it also, a phone call. You dial 211. And then many of the 211 locations went and added a web-based interface where you call in for help. You dial on your computer and you search for the resources. At that point, our resource directory is very similar to their resource directory. Our resource directory is limited to like-minded people in reentry. And then when you look at referrals and case management, you can see what else it facilitates.
I see. Okay, that clears it up for me. Thank you.
We had another question, David, in a similar vein. Stephen from the Ohio Justice and Policy Center says he sees himself as the legal arm of the reentry movement in Ohio, and we would like to be able to disseminate legal resources to other reentry practitioners statewide. Can we post our own materials on this resource directory?
Okay, that's a great question. What I would prefer to see is a website. He was from Ohio, right?
That's right.
If somebody in Ohio would create the Ohio Reentry Initiative, doesn't have to have the word RJC in it, we will plug in our directory to that, and he can post any information there. Having said that, if the information is like a resource, a service an organization provides, that's very relevant to the directory. The problem we have is that ours is a very national directory, and what he's going to want to do is keep his information more closely organized with the state. We have, I know at least 2 people online you can maybe connect with after this that are doing initiatives in Alabama and Maine, and Murray Batt, I think, was on the line too. He's very familiar with what's being done in Texas. And all those websites use our directory and can be used to disseminate information in their states. We support initiatives in other states.
Great.
Did I help?
I think so, and I think as any bit of information, it just starts further conversations, and we can have them as well. Why don't we move on to the second application and keep on task?
Okay. The next challenge, as I said, was getting people to use the resource directory, and to do that, we tried to create value. We were driving value. So, who can refer? We have the ability in our referral system for every organization in the directory to refer a client to another organization in the resource directory. The referring organization simply identifies the organization to refer to, by finding them in the directory and enters the information. Optionally, the administrators of the local or state resource directories can configure a self-referral application on the website if they want to manage self-referrals. We don't dictate what they do. Next slide. Okay. This is an example where client information can be added. Just take a look at it. I'm not trying to teach the system. Why don't you give me the next slide? Here you match the client to an organization. You've probably searched for some specific services. You found them in the resource directory. Go ahead, the next one.
As you can see, there's a little lag in the, like a satellite lag.
And then as you send it, you don't want to just send the name or address, and there's not many required fields there. But you do want to send the referral what they're looking for. And most people add additional comments. Understand, this is mostly going on in a very dynamic mode within local communities, referring individuals from one place to another. And this information is actually dropped into a log for each person, the organization referring and the organization getting the referral. Go ahead, the next one. There's not much really to explain about a referral. You're referring somebody from one place to another. This is probably one of the most valuable things we found in this framework. Client referral demonstrate how an internal manual process that could have been by phone, email, letter, can be automated, replicated, and deployed across the nation. Referrals are a simple example of a process where value is derived. I want to address it a little bit more in a second. It demonstrates how standard internal systems connect with a shared external system, which is the resource directory, to create a framework with additional value. Integrating referrals with the resource directory makes the directory a part of the reentry process, which keeps the resources engaged, the resources being the organizations in the directory, and the directory current. What we found was, or what I'd like to present, is that the economy of value in the for-profit sector, is measured at the bottom line in dollars. The economy or value in the nonprofit sector is measured in money saved, but also time saved and improved outcomes. If two organizations collaborating with each other costs more than working alone, then whatever we fund now will never be sustained later. So we look for processes where information technology could be applied in a mutually beneficial way. In a mutually beneficial way meaning reduced time, reduced money, or better outcomes. And we call that process collaboration. We were looking for collaborative processes that would drive value. No matter how small or how large, when replicated across the nation, it starts to add up. Why don't you give me the next slide?
David, I have a couple questions that are mounting. I thought I'd throw them to you now, and maybe you can...
Look, because this is the end of the referral section.
Okay, good. The one question is client information shared when referrals are made?
Client information only, no. The answer is no. There's very, very little to share. You can just share the name of the individual if that's all you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to share the name and the service needed and why they need it, that's up to you.
Okay. And the other question was that some organizations have complex information needs, and how can this be accommodated by the current referral process?
I apologize. I don't understand.
I think it says that they have complex information needs, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but Mary Lou, if you want to hit *7 and maybe articulate your question, you can do that. Her question is, some organizations have complex information needs. How would this be accommodated by the current referral process?
Again, I have to apologize. I don't know what the needs are.
We'll come back in the general discussion on that.
Can she join in on the line?
She must not be able to unmute or something. I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very vaguely. Go ahead, Mary Lou. We'll try.
I was just, if a referral is to, say, a medical provider, and they need very specific information, that wasn't accommodated by that small referral panel.
Okay, she's correct. No, we don't. We are not, at this time, accommodating everything. We simply can't. When we started talking about this, I said we were in our infancy. True statement. Can we do more? Yes. Could we include more information? Yes. At this time, we just don't have the bandwidth or the knowledge of what to include, and especially in the area of confidential information. We haven't gotten that far, only to know that you don't exchange Social Security numbers and confidential information. We're just not at that point yet.
Okay,
but when we go and we talk about case management, I will open that window a little bit larger in this next section.
Okay, and if you have more questions, we'll have some time, I think, at the end, and let's have a discussion then. Okay, let's move on to case management.
As I'm going through all of this, please understand that when we developed this, our primary market were all of the small and medium-sized organizations that could not afford technology, that didn't have in-house systems, that were not capable of doing good reporting for measurements and outcomes. So that was a really, really big concern of ours. And I think most people online would acknowledge that there are countless organizations like that out there. What we did then was we added a case management system. The case management system is clearly an internal application to an organization. It's independent of the resource directory. Optionally, it can connect to the referral system. And instead of entering client information for a referral, the case manager allows you to simply select the client in your case manager. And I'll go through that in a little bit more detail later. Likewise, you can receive a referral into your case management system. And we also support collaborative case management across the framework. Okay, let me hit the specifics here. In the referral system, you had to type in the information of who you're referring and what you want to say. In this application, we allowed you to simply click on the client and prepare the information there for referral. Now, if the organization that you're referring to also has our application, the case manager, active, then it will take that information on the other end, drop it into their case management system, and ask them if they will accept the referral. If not, you try again. You find an organization that will. The collaborative portion of this allows 2, 3, or 4 organizations to share information. Now that brings up a huge list of questions and a lot of liability. So let me try and cut to the chase there. This is not like a centralized homeless information management system. Our collaborative case management is peer-to-peer. Organization A maintains and is responsible in totality for all of their information. So is Organization B. If the client tells Organization A, here's my new phone number, Organization B doesn't know that until Organization B finds out. Each is responsible. What they share are any notes and information that they deem shareable. Proactively, they want to share. Just like in the social service sector, organizations will Xerox notes and send them to their organization. In that case, they will proactively identify what they want to share and explicitly what they don't want to share. Okay, next slide. This is just a simple, this is our interface to show you what our case management system does. Add clients, manage clients, configure profiles, so you can manage what fields will be included in the profiles, customize defaults, set options, view and print the referral reports. You can import clients, review and delete clients. We also had a request to expand our reporting. So right now in a beta release, we have an ad hoc report generator, and that has been used now to create reports for workforce boards and some of the more complex demographic reports for United Way reporting. That also now opens this up to a larger group of participants, people that want to use it. Okay, how about the next slide? Okay, here we are, example caseworker. Basically just have your clients where they are. These are pending referrals here. Go ahead and give me the next screen. Standard caseworker subject log report. You can have an appointment, a note, a custom entry. You'll notice that we have 3 forms now associated with an individual. An application, self-motivated interview, and a report. Let me go and take a look at a couple of those. Okay. This is a client assessment. The application, and I see that this was stretched out a little bit, so it's a little bit distorted. The tool has the ability to create custom applications however you want, and this is an example of one that was created. And then it's used by the case manager. Okay, next one. It's a simple assessment. This form is used by the mentor or volunteer. In other words, the case manager has requested that the ex-offender's mentor complete this form monthly. This is the one they've created. You can create whatever you want, give whatever points you want. And what they're looking for is they're trying to identify issues and problems that are occurring, as probably most of you can guess. Again, you can customize these. Next one. Interesting slide for right here. What the system allows you to do when an offender comes in to a reentry center, for example, and you start going through their assessments and their needs, you want to be able to log some of the information that you're doing, send a referral, and at the same time print out a map to hand the offender and say, here's where you want to go. 1 map, 10 maps, all different, whatever services they need. You want to give them as much, you want to empower them as much as possible to get there. And then there's, okay. Again, in the case management, here the internal process can be automated, it's replicated, and it's deployed across the nation. Again, it's an example where value is derived. Internal systems use the framework but remain independent of external systems. And this, by the way, is so extremely common in framework. It connects through standards and protocols, just like the banking industry does, like email does. By connecting case management, more organizations will use the framework. More value is derived, and it starts growing. All right, framework is hard to define. I really hope this helps. I hope that you can see that the first step of a reentry framework forming with the example of a resource director, referral system, and case manager. Again, though, this is only technology. There's a lot more that can be added. And just before we close now here for questions, we'll go to the next slide, and I just want to hit some of the properties of framework. I'm not going to discuss these at all. I'll just read very quickly for the people that are not on the webinar. Properties of framework include, it's a connection point for individuals and organizations. It's autonomous at all levels, national, state, and local. It's a channel to deploy best practices in weeks and not years, which is what we have right now. It's process collaboration for coordinated, holistic, economical, and effective management of services. It's also cross-sector connection to workforce, homeless, etc., which we didn't have a chance to discuss today, and who knows, maybe sometime in the future we can. It empowers us to work together to build capacity, awareness, and understanding. It empowers us to work together, and that's probably the most important thing here. Next slide. It's shared, standardized, but flexible. It maximizes experience and expertise. It's neutral. It's neutral. Outcomes are improved by framework, and it multiplies every dollar and every hour. It drives value. Next. Okay. I want to close again with value. Value drives framework. Value is derived when an organization engages in a process that reduces time, saves money, or improves outcome. That's the economy of social services. Framework enables those processes. Value from these processes attract organizations. As more organizations engage, there's more value and more opportunities for new processes. Growth comes with more value in new processes. The framework expands, and like I started out saying, the example was the banking industry, you'll turn around and framework has already evolved into an infrastructure. You've entered the information age, and you see a paradigm shift occurring. I think that's the end. Am I right, Drew?
I think so. I have a slide or two after that housekeeping, but I have a number of questions that backed up, and
I imagine.
I'm going to ask these, and then I'm going to try to unmute, and I'll ask you to unmute, and then we can have a little discussion in our time remaining. But let me see if I can go back to the, try to take them in the order I got them. Right. How does this contrast with Reentry Net? Are you aware of that, David?
No, don't know it.
Okay, well, we'll move on from there. I was wondering exactly what RJC is. Is it a nonprofit? Is it a government group? What is it? And where this software and the idea of the reentry infrastructure came from? In the mid-1990s, I used to meet with a lot of nonprofits in Houston, Texas, in all sectors, and we talked about what technology could do, how we could work together. We were asked to develop a very basic case management tool for a large CBO here in Houston. I think today they have about 10,000 clients in that case management system. And another individual wound up seeing that. His name was Bert Thompson, and he pulled me up to Huntsville. I met with TDC, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and specifically a man named Emmett Solomon, who is a very strong advocate of restorative justice. And he asked me if I would personally create a resource directory, and he would tell me how to do it. And that is exactly what we did. It was really the first one that came out. Then we wanted to introduce the resource directory nationally, but we were asked by the reentry coordinator of a group called Interchange Freedom Initiative in Houston, the prison, to modify it for their needs for case management internally, and we did that. It evolved and evolved from there. It is totally client-driven. Restorative Justice Community is part of a nonprofit which is called Venture CD. Venture CD formed in 1999, and that's where it remains right now. All right.
Did I answer all the questions associated with that?
That's good for now. I think that was a nice answer. Does an organization need to have reentry services in order to take part in the resource directory?
There's probably several people on the line that could answer that question. Here's what you're going to come up with. Wherever you are, let's say you're in Birmingham, Alabama, and you want to be in a resource directory. You're going to ask the administrator of that resource directory to include you in a reentry resource directory. Their first question is, what resources do you provide for prisoners or reentry? And if you don't, I doubt they're going to have you added to the directory, because you basically you weaken the value of the directory. Next.
What if there are several organizations asking for the administrator for a certain geographic area? How do you decide who's in charge?
It's a volunteer thing. If you want to be in charge of a directory, email me. The directory isn't really the key. And I guess what I should really say is try to imagine this in a little more unbundled way. Let's take, for example, Houston, Texas. You can have one resource directory for Houston, Texas, but you can have 10 reentry centers, all run by different organizations, all using the one resource directory to refer to, all managing their own network, their close network, but still using the resource directory. So outcomes in reentry will really be driven by reentry centers and not the administrator of the directory. However, if you want to volunteer, we'd love to hear from you. Okay. Well, the other questions I have are sort of a technical Mac versus PC, and I'll get with you and that questioner. If you want to unmute your phone, *7, and maybe ask David an oral question.
Okay, David, hi. This is Carol in Cleveland again. And I just still need a little bit of clarification. I'm not very tech savvy and I'm old, so please bear with me. I'm looking at the last slide, and it says Restorative Justice Community Web-Based Infrastructure for Statewide Reentry. So here's my question. Is this a classic web-based client information management system that you have just prefaced with a resource directory? Because I have a web-based client management information system, and I see this as sort of duplicating what I already have.
Well, possibly if your organization has a web-based client management system, again, that's great. This is intended to be more of a framework, and you can use whatever piece you want. You don't have to use the case management tool. You can just use the directory. You can use a referral system.
Well, I guess then my follow-up question would be, what would be the advantage? Because my system will allow me to do referrals. It allows me, obviously, to input case management information in it. The only thing that I see my system not having is the resource directory. And we sort of have that at 211.
I can't argue with you. I'm going to come back to a statement that I made earlier.
Okay.
And I'll preface that by saying is if your organization has all of that software internally, you are in the small percentile of organizations that give their hearts and soul to reentry. And it's for those organizations that we started developing this.
I see.
So I guess that's my best response to we're trying to connect, if you will, the unknown army of people that are out there working in reentry.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Another question for David?
Yes, I do. I have a question. This is Deanne Plaskett in California. We have a large member base in California prisons. We do not have, at this point, reentry resources. So can we still use this wonderful resource? How do we do that?
I'm not overly familiar with what you're saying you have, but yes, you can. Let's talk specifics. Where are you located?
We're California-based.
Okay, and you have a reentry initiative, and you're wanting to use the resource directory to help network the organizations you work with. Is that correct?
Well, at this point, probably to clarify my question, I'd be more interested in how can we use the resources available on your framework for our members who are coming out of prison, because at this point we do not have reentry sources ourselves.
Well, then my best advice would be just, if you go to RJC USA and you just click on Need Help, the resource directory that we have right now for the nation, you'll see it, and all you would do is start using it and put yourself in there as an organization, get a username and password. You'll have the ability to refer. You'll have a connection to the resource directory. You can refer to anybody in the nation.
Fantastic.
Everybody that's in that list.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, David. I want to, before we have to depart, and we don't have to, but I want to show you this. This link for an evaluation of our webinar today. If you did not have, if you can see the link, either copy it down, or the folks who registered for the call, I will send that to them after the call. But if you did not register and register on the audio portion, or maybe on the other portion as well, send me an email and I'll send you this link. But there's the link to complete an evaluation for that. So why don't we continue? Are there any more questions for David?
I have one more
yes,
question.
ma'am.
Very low. Based on the just prior question, if you log on to use the resources that are already in the framework, would you also be able to use the case management part of it, or no?
You are very, very faint. If you log on, can you use the case management? You should be able to. Contact me if you cannot.
Let's put David. Let's find David's email address. It was earlier on, and so you can have an email address for him, so you can contact him directly if you have some questions. And of course, I'm at the National Crime Prevention Council. Larry Frank couldn't be with us today, but there's David's email address. I believe you can see that now. David.Heath@restorativejusticecommunity, all one word, .org. Another question for David?
Yes, I have a question. This is Daphne Gathers from the city of Binghamton. I'm working with an organization that is, the local government is working with New York State Parole and a nonprofit organization to form a reentry task force. We are Impact County, and we are applying for funding. But one of the things that we wanted, what I wanted to find out, is there a cost to use this service?
No. I think, no, there's no cost. The resource directory can help you organize, and I think forming the task force is a great first step.
Okay. Thank you.
Drew?
And how are you?
Drew?
Yes, go ahead.
Drew, this is Ken Stevens up in Maine.
Hi.
We have our own state, and we have one in Alabama that's online also. Sometime afterwards, you may want to send our email addresses to those people, as both of us are true practitioners of this reentry network and how it actually works. So for people who are questioning not the technical side, which is David's thing, but for those who may have questions about practical application, which hopefully we'll have another webinar or whatever you want to call it. But I'd be more than glad to help anyone get a one started in their state, as we've done here in Maine. It's extremely effective. And I must say that the people at David and his folks are awesome in making it work.
And by the way, may I ask you so far, how much have we charged you?
Oh, jeez. I'm going to tell you, my bank account is empty. Every bill you send me, I just throw it in a round thing. I'll testify to the fact that we've been trained. They have hosted. They have helped us get Maine's website up and running, and extremely effective in our, this is our 13th year or 17th year of doing reentry. To the point that our State Department of Corrections is now talking about totally using it, and because of several things. One is it's free. Nobody has budget. Nobody has budget problems, right? So, Drew, I just offer myself up if you want to.
Go ahead and give me your email address, and I'll try to type it on the screen.
Yeah. Let's see, which one did you use? You used, it's Pastor Ken.
All right.
At northeastdreamcenter.org.
Northeast
Dream Center.
Dream
is what we'd all like to see now that the sun has come out in Maine and the snow's going.
All right. I'll see if I can get that on the screen. All right. Thank you.
And what about Alabama?
Kenneth.Brothers at NBFI. That's November Bravo Frank India.org.
And the first in front of the at is brothers.
Kenneth.Brothers.
Kenneth.Brothers. Sorry. Okay.
You need to put a Kenneth in front of the brothers.
Right. I've
Boy, is he good, huh?
I don't know about that. Okay.
And I think both of us, if it's all right, David, and he's doing so well with the typing, ours is www.mainerjc.org. is our website that they have developed for us. And Ken, if you'd like to do the same.
Yeah, ours is www.nbfi.org.
And you've got Larry's up there, and that's an awesome site. Very active.
Very nice. Well, we're a little bit past the hour. I'll stay on the line if there are some more questions. Allow me to thank David, who went through great efforts and great pains to be with us today. And he had to work with one arm behind his back because Larry couldn't make it today because of an emergency of a serious nature. And David, I really appreciate that, and I think our participants appreciate it as well. And we thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Well, I'll remain with you for questions.
We'll be here for a little bit if you want to have some more questions. Otherwise, I'll conclude and look for the evaluation, and please send the evaluation back, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Let's do it again.
Thank you, David.
Is the lady from California still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, if you go to the rjcusa.org site, and you'll have a link for the map. Just click on the CA for California, and it'll show you what resources are currently logged in under California.
Wonderful. Will do.
And then, each state is very slowly developing it. It's a wonderful resource. We're using AmeriCorps Vista to help us develop it in Alabama. And so you can then decide on your own if you want to become a resource. But I'll be happy to talk with y'all later on that if you like.
Okay, and are you the Ken Brothers?
Yes.
Okay, I have your email. I'll be in contact with you. I really appreciate that.
Hello.
Okay. And thanks so much, David. And
we can look at it, but I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be just that.
Okay. Well, and I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
We're going to do,
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Minus the gibberish.
Yeah, that's what I